Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to FM Talk Show. I'm Florence. Well, for some reasons, Milky will not attend the program today. However, we have a special guest here. Yeah, Tim Vulcan, who is the founder of the Wushan TCM. Okay, Tim, say hello to our audience.
Yes, hello and ni hao.
Okay, actually, Tim is not only good at English but also good at Chinese, right?
Sure, English and Chinese, yes.
Okay. Actually, like our audiences, I don't know much about you, Tim. So could you please just talk something about yourself at first?
Yes, sure. I'm from the northern part of Germany. I was grown up in Hamburg and I started my martial arts career when I was 18 years old, and I found luckily a very nice teacher who already introduced me to the Chinese life cultivation or Yangsheng methods.
Yeah.
And from this time I started first to get known to different kind of martial arts, Kung Fu, this Yong Chen Quan, Qigong and Tai Chi, and later on I became much more interested also in the medical part and started to figure out where it's actually possible to study Chinese medicine abroad directly in China. So in the beginning I stayed with my teacher in Hamburg and I started my Kung Fu studying for several years and becoming also an assistant teacher and started to teach people as well. And after a while I put my attention more to internal martial arts like Qigong and Tai Chi Chuan, which is very much related with a lot of breathing exercises, relaxation, meditation. And I came in touch the first time with Tuina massage actually after our Kung Fu training, while we were all massaging our each shoulders after having like hard practice. And I realized like that is the biggest meaning actually in Chinese martial arts is the confrontation with yourself, with the sensibilization of your own mind, of your body, and to keep control about your mind. And I went on for several years practicing, teaching people, and in 2004 I took the decision to come to China for the first time, where I went to, for example, the Shaolin Temple to have my Kung Fu practice over there. So I stayed there on a local school with several thousand of Chinese students and had my daily practice in Kung Fu and Tai Chi. And that was very inspiring for me to see some Shaolin monks, and actually my greatest teacher was 9 years old. It was a girl who was actually doing the flick flag and doing a lot of acrobatic kicks, and she taught me a lot, but I was really surprised about it. After I went to different schools in Guilin, in Yangshuo to practice just directly at the riverside, some Tai Chi Chuan and Tai Chi Jian. And I found also different Qigong teachers in many different kind of cities. I went to Wuhan, I went to Changsha, and also to Hong Kong to study different kind of internal martial arts. At that time, I already figured out that I would like to stay longer in China, and I made myself on the search to find a medical university. So I also came to Hangzhou, and I find this city very lovely and very inspiring, and I had my first contacts over here with people who study Chinese medicine. I met some doctors, and I decided to first take a half-year course in Chinese medicine with having a translator with me, but after some time I was realizing that it was pretty much hard to practice Chinese medicine with having just a translator who is giving you 2 sentences out of a 10-minute talk. So I went over lots of a lot of thinking and a lot of thoughts on how actually to be able to start a study in China, because without the language it was a huge barrier for me. So I was talking to our university and they recommended a Chinese language course to me, where I started actually the next day to be in a Chinese language course and having no understanding about Chinese language. So it was a very frustrating and very tough experience in the beginning, to start the Chinese language. And I finished 1 year Chinese language class where I got the basics of the Chinese language, and in my free time I was already focusing on the medical Chinese, where I bought myself some books. And I was
English or in Chinese?
I used English, German and Chinese, so I had 3 different kind of language always with me.
Okay.
And so I built up my medical language that I was able to take part in the first year of the bachelor's in Kunming. Actually, I went to the Yunnan Zhongyi Xueyuan, and I had my first bachelor year over there in the school, which over there is very famous actually for its herbal medicine and also minority medicine, which I was very fascinated at that time. So I had my first year of the bachelor study in that college, which was very hard because they still speak a lot of local dialects in that school. And being only one Westerner in one class wasn't really the easy thing. So after 1 year, I decided to come back to Hangzhou, where I already had my Chinese language classes and knowing of some good teachers, and decided to go on with the second year of the bachelor here in the Zhejiang Chinese Medical University. And this is where I went on with my bachelor study until the graduation. So it took 2 or 3 years to be able to completely follow all classes which have been held in Chinese. We had also clinical practice in the hospital, and then facing again the Hangzhouhua, the Hangzhou dialect, which was again another problem. So it took a lot of homework, self-work, discipline. It was a time of frustration, but also very enjoyable time to actually step in this huge major of Chinese medicine. After 5 years, I finally graduated with the Bachelor of TCM, and I decided to go on with 1 clinical year to prepare myself for the 医师资格考试, for the national Chinese medical test, to become actually a licensed TCM doctor here in China. So it took me 1.5 years to only prepare that test by reviewing every day tons of questions and massive of theory, which was a great review actually for myself, and it was very much challenging because on the day where I took the test I was together with 900 students, and I was the only Westerner who was sitting there trying to read and answer all of these questions. We have everything, of course, was in Chinese, so it wasn't the easiest part. I succeed the first round, and even though I couldn't pass the last round for reasons I'm not really sure about it, and I went on to study with my master degree, where I'm actually also right now still doing ancient classes about mostly about my major, which is in acupuncture and as well internal medicine, and the pediatrics tuina, which I'm also very excited in. And in 2008 I created a Chinese medical network which is called Wushan TCM, which meaning is to connect Chinese teachers and Chinese doctors with Western doctors and Western students. It's like bridging the cultures, bridging the West with the East, and to explain and to teach the ancient Chinese knowledge to interested Western medical doctors. So I created first an online offer with local courses into Chinese medicine. I was also arranging local treatments for Western people who were interested in receiving a treatment from a professional Chinese TCM doctor. So I was arranging all of the clinical aspects, guiding the patient through the clinic, translating all the dialogues, and I was guiding training tours. So I was working as a tour guide, offering like the Hu Qunyi Tang tour. So I'm like guiding. Also a lot of medical doctors came to me to see the most fascinating places in Hangzhou, and I was always very attached to everything which is in connection with Chinese medicine. Later on teaching courses in Qigong and in Tai Chi, attended the service, and right now I'm actually focusing on online courses to receive even more interested students and doctors who would like to wish TCM from China.
Okay, it seems you are really fascinated about Chinese culture, about Chinese things, right?
Yeah, very much. Totally.
Okay. Actually, I have browsed your website, and it's really very, I must say, it's excellent. And I saw some message that 2 women who from Berlin came to Hangzhou and just want to have the treatment of TCM.
Exactly, yes, they came here, yeah.
Yeah. So did lots of Western, maybe Western foreigners inspired by you and come to China to get contact with TCM?
Yes, we have more and more people who are really interested to get a local treatment here from a Chinese practitioner, and often it's the problem of not knowing the Chinese language and also of not knowing a good doctor. And this is actually what I would like to offer the people. This is what we got known through all our years of our studies. We know where to find the good doctors, and we have the language abilities. So we had people from all over the world, from Germany, from Switzerland, Israel, United States, New Zealand, and so on. Many countries. A lot of people already enjoyed local treatment here.
Okay, so besides the TCM here, could you tell us that the current situation, maybe in Western countries, did they have the TCM clinical in their countries?
Yeah, actually TCM can be found all over the world. For example, in Germany, we have a very strong TCM culture. We have education institutes. We have a lot of private clinics, both run by Westerners and also by Chinese. So Chinese medicine is becoming a very popular part in the alternative medicine section when it is about Western medicine is not having a choice, a chance anymore to find certain treatments for a patient. Often Chinese medicine is searched by people who have chronic disease and a lot of problems which is not being able to be diagnosed by Western medicine.
Okay, you have done really a very great job. So maybe beside the achievement you have accomplished, we would like to know something about maybe yourself. Besides your work, what did you often do in Hangzhou? So, I mean, what's your hobbies, maybe?
Yeah, I was always very much related with sports, actually always outside. So I enjoy to go trekking on the mountains, walking on Hangzhou's mountains, practicing Qigong and Tai Chi over there, or just enjoying one of these beautiful parks, especially now in the springtime where all the flowers are opening. I do enjoy the outdoor life and always enjoy also just to stroll through the Hangzhou streets and to discover new things. I enjoy photo taking of interesting sites which I connect with my daily life actually when I go outside and just see how the street life is in Hangzhou. So I always try to go outside to meet people, to look at the people, because I'm very interested to understand and to learn about the culture.
Mm-hmm. So did you plan stay here in China for a long time?
Yeah, I will be here for some more years because I'm still planning to establish a place for foreigners who wish to come to China and to help them with some good service here. I'm still actually also in my master's study, which I will finish in some time. And I will do further studies to prepare myself to actually also start my first treatment workings.
Okay. I see in the Jiangsu station you have attended a program. You said that you want to have a clinical here in China.
Yeah, that was a very funny program. Yeah, it was the Feichang Liaode. Yeah.
胸口碎大使.
The 胸口碎大使 together with Meng Fei and Guo Degang. Yeah, Mr. Guo Degang. Yeah, it was very exciting day to be there. And as we can see, for a lot of Chinese people, it's very hard to understand that also Western people are very deep inside Chinese ancient cultures by, like, for example, like practicing hard Qigong, as I was presenting at that show over there. So it was very interesting show to give over there. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
You must have a great large experience here in China for so many years.
I'm still learning. I'm still in my beginnings, as we can say, because as you know, to become an experienced TCM doctor, you always have to be open to always learn more and more. And it's what can be a greater place than to be here in China.
So what's your future plan?
Yeah, I'm having a vision. I'm having a dream of establishing an institute here, maybe somewhere in the mountains, which could be a proper place, a nice place for Western students to come and to study the ancient arts of Chinese medicine, of life cultivation.
Bravo.
And I'm working towards that, which is not a small goal, but as we know from Lao Tzu, so everything is starting with the first step.
Yeah. Okay, welcome back. We have just known the experience and the hobbies of Tim. Well, in this section, we'd like to ask Tim some questions.
Yeah, hello again.
Actually, you know, our school is the Zhejiang Chinese Medical University. We are all very interested in TCM, and I am majoring in traditional Chinese medicine. So, we are more interested to ask some questions which is concerned with TCM. So, Tim, why did you choose TCM?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And I still can remember when I was in Hamburg, often looking like for books. One day I found like an old Chinese bookstore, which was a little bit in the underground, and it was packed full of Chinese books. Everything was written in Chinese, and there was an old Chinese man sitting inside, and he was selling all of these books, and it was just fascinating, even though I only could understand from the pictures that it's about Chinese medicine and martial arts and cooking and calligraphy. And I bought my first Chinese medical book over there, totally in Chinese, because I was just so amazed of the difference.
Yeah.
This is how I started to get interested in this comprehensive medicine. Yeah, and it went on my interest. I was later on like asking my Kung Fu teacher at that time if he could teach me a little bit more about the Toina massage, and he was explaining me about meridians and about acupoints. And the interesting part is I came from the school by experience yourself what is qi, what is an acupoint, by applying it to each other. So I was not coming only through the theory and the knowledge that we just think about it. I was coming more from the direction from the practice, that we try to understand what is this Tianren He Yi, by using like different kind of exercises and actually to feel how does it feel to stand stable on the ground, how does it feel to be lift up high in the sky, how is it feeling like to be relaxed and to be strong. So I was coming from this learning by doing, and found myself actually later on starting to read the first medical books about Chinese, then of course using German, because at that time I didn't know Chinese. And later I was thinking about where actually the best place would be to study Chinese medicine. We also have a lot of institutes in Germany. They offer courses and education between like 1 week, 2 weeks until to 3 years of a very
teachers are
professional.
Chinese?
Yeah, we have both. We have Chinese teachers over there, but also a lot of Germans are already since many years in the field of Chinese medicine, running their own clinic and also offering good education courses. And for me, it was not enough. I wanted to have more. I wanted to start at the roots of Chinese medicine. That's why I chose it has to be China. I had to move to China. And it took a long time to prepare all of these things, because it's actually moving your center to a different life towards actually Chinese medicine, which I was very much interested, because all of the systems, what you have in the inside, if it's the yin yang or if it's the 5 elements, you can actually also experience everything on your own. If you're ill, if you have a problem in life, if you would like to find a way on how to understand life is going, how can we find a balance? Chinese medicine is giving a lot of strong aspects and ideas on this philosophy part, and a very fascinating way.
Okay, well, actually making up your mind to do something is really hard. So Tim, after you decided to come China, what did you face here? Did you face lots of difficulties, or did you find the distinct differences between what you expect and what you face in the reality?
Yeah, interesting question. Well, I had in my mind to go to China to study with ancient doctors who have a long beard, to be together with them, to discover herbs on the mountains, to go there every morning, to practice near the riverside, to hold deep discussions with old Chinese masters. I think that's what a lot of Western people have in their mind. And once we arrive in China, in an actually modern country, we see that the reality is often very different to what we expect. So I was arriving in Beijing. The first thing was I lost all of my luggage, and I had to live only with my handbag for the next 2 weeks, which was already the first shocking experience, because I didn't have any language ability. And when I arrived at the university here, I saw how TCM is teaching over here. It was a very different a different thing to face actually than what I was expecting here.
Okay, TCM as a profound and broad essence of ancient China has existed for 1,000 years. Different from modern medicine, it emphasizes more about the doctor's own quality, own talent, and own knowledge. However, the current TCM education system, just like you have mentioned, is more like the Western one. Some people advocate modernizing TCM, while others argue that we should maintain our own characteristics. So how do you think of it?
Yes, I think to this question we have to look at it a little bit more critical, because right now it's the Chinese textbooks, it's even pharmacies who are offering herbs, which is more according to the Western medicine way of thinking. Because a lot of things are happening that we are using actually the names of the illness, for example, the diabetes, or for example the asthma, the Fei Yan, for example. All of these things are coming from Western medicine, and before in Chinese medicine we only had a Zheng, actually, 症状的症, yeah. So which is saying actually, if we a syndrome. If we have a headache, we cannot say that every patient is getting the same medicine because he's having a headache. No, we could have a heat or a cold related, or with dampness, or with yin deficiency or yang deficiency. We have many kind of different reasons, and therefore we should also have different kind of medicines giving to the patient what is actually the original idea about Chinese medicine through the Bianzheng, yeah. And right now all of these things are changing a little bit, and which is also changing the way of Chinese medicine is being practiced. So I think we have a critical part, but also a good part. For example, if we can combine like Western modern ways of diagnosing using the MRI or the X-ray, of giving the patient a better opportunity to understand more about his situation, and then actually being free to choose what kind of treatment we could have. Is it Chinese medicine? Is it better with Western medicine? And to combine those things, actually we have both parts in the inside. The important thing is, what I would like to say is that we have to focus on that each medicine has its origins and its unique ways of seeing the person and its illness, and it should not be changed. It can be very well combined, but I think we have to spend a lot of time if we would like to prove Chinese medicine's effects and using tools or instruments coming from Western medicine. I think it's very hard because we are very limited, because Chinese medicine is using our senses, is using the visual sense, the audio sense, the sense of touching the pulse, of observing the patient, of like viewing the tongue. All of these things, I think it is very hard to measure with machines. Even now we have a lot of modern research of pulse diagnosis, but I keep to the traditional part, because I think a machine can not do the same work what we have for a shogun, a hand skill.
Okay, I can agree more. Okay, actually I am more interested in a question. Tim, have you ever watched the movie The Dallas Buyers Club?
Sorry, no.
It's the 80th Academy Awards this year, and I was quite impressed by this movie. You know, the hero, who suffers AIDS, he takes some medicines from the legal way, which is accepted by FDA, which means that at first he used the drugs which is legal, which is approved by the public, which is approved by the institutions. But actually, after he had these drugs, he do not feel well, and then he seek for a more opportunity to get some drugs which is do not approved by the public. I mean, these drugs are so-called illegal one. And this movie just inspired me at what? I think TCM's current situation is just a bit like that. Depriving of criterion education and systematic knowledge. Lots of talented folk doctors obtain their knowledge by just reading classics and practicing, and maybe following their teachers, following their families. And actually they achieve a lot, and even some are better than the doctors in hospitals. However, they cannot be supported by laws and policies. So, Tim, how do you think of this phenomenon?
On my travel to different kind of provinces in China, I also had the opportunity to meet some of these local, or Mingjian, Yisheng, some of these local doctors who are not supported with a governmental license, but still being able to actually give good treatments. And I once went to Fujian, to a very small town which is called Yongchun, and we met a Kung Fu teacher over there who is teaching the White Crane Kung Fu. And this man is also a doctor for the Gushanke, for the for the Gushanke. And he was collecting his own herbs on mountains which have been close by, and preparing his own gao yao, like some medical plasters which he was giving to patients who had suffered from external disease. And he showed me all of the process on how to actually produce this kind of external used medicine, and that was like very fascinating thing to see that you can use local herbs growing over there to produce your own medicine, where he had his own brand actually, and later on applying it to his patients. So this was very very surprising way. Even in Hangzhou, I was meeting an old Qigong teacher who was also able to give acupuncture treatments in connection with Qigong aspects. And these things are very hard to find in institutions, but I think we are able, if we go to the countryside, to look for small villages and to look for these past, they were called the 赤脚医生, right? So we still can find them. I actually bought also a handbook myself for the 赤脚医生, and it is very interesting actually what kind of knowledge a barefoot doctor should have who was sent to the countryside to work in small hospitals, and he had to have like a unique knowledge about many different kind of departments. And those people were very skillful because they had seen a lot of different kind of disease, often also very complicated disease, and they had to find a solution with sometimes very simple and easy methods. So I saw doctors like who did some kind of 放血疗法 with this Meihuazhen and other people who doing external medicine. I saw in Guilin a doctor who did treatments with the 祖玉. His clinic was called 百草祖玉. So he had a very small place in like an old garage, and people were sitting inside and were making foot baths. It was very cold, and I was also enjoying one of it. And they were actually supplying Tuina massage at the same time, where people had this foot baths. And I think that's the most interesting part in China actually, to see people working with local herbal medicine. Another example is we went to Guizhou and we met a minority doctor over there who took us directly to the mountain to pick herbs, and he was able to explain us how to take them. So we found some of this Huangjiang, Zhejiang, and yeah, it tastes very good. And fascinating study, never-ending fascinating study.
Okay, as time is limited, I must say that we do not have much time to talk more. I'm really inspired by Tim, so thank you for coming to our program.
Yeah, sure, you're welcome.
Okay, and in the end, I would like to cite a sentence which is from Steve Jobs to end today's program. The only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Okay, thank you. See you next Monday. I'm Florence.
Yeah, bye bye and 再见.